Hello and welcome to MDN Multidimensional News. I'm Tiberius Kimball, here to share with you all the news you may have missed last week in an easy, digestible format. Today we start with your New York City update for our big story. Central Park has been enclosed inside of an invisible barrier. New York's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man was spotted trapped inside. Hours earlier, he was seen being attacked by the young Kraven the Hunter, surrounded by noxious gas. It is assumed the gas grants temporary precognition based on residue reports from our on-call chemists at MDN. Why was Spider-Man yelling out the initials MJ, MJ, MJ repeatedly? Does this have anything to do with former model and Stark executive Mary Jane Watson? More on the situation in Central Park. It has been filled with all of the missing animal-themed supervillains we've been reporting on in weeks past. There are too many to list here, but we are seeing classic Spider-Man villains such as Scorpion, Tarantula, and White Rabbit within the enclosure. The park is also filled with hunters wearing white modern Kraven armor. What kind of Donnybrook is going down in Central Park? We'll keep you updated as we learn more. The other big event that happened in New York this past week was the appearance of a miniature black hole in Brooklyn. One appeared in a bank that was promptly closed by newly titled Black Panther Princess Shuri of Wakanda, who had previously experienced closing a black hole in the deserts outside of Timbuktu with Iron Man. It still had time to do enough structural damage for the first few floors of the bank to collapse the ceilings. Luckily, our black-suited Spider-Man based out of Brooklyn was there to help everyone inside and get to safety. Then, a second black hole appeared at the Coles Academic High School in Jersey City, where Shuri and Spider-Man attacked a student who was using a pair of gravity manipulation gloves. This must have attracted the attention of gravity-based supervillain Graviton, aka Dr. Hall. Luckily for our two young heroes, Miss Marvel was on the scene in her native city. Speaking of which, Miss Marvel has had a busy time in Jersey City this week. In one day, she stopped a man in armor with a sword who called himself Deathbringer on a city street, a giant wolf with a mace from attacking a local convenience store, and a large purple hawk with laser blasters at a local park. The strange part is, these giant beasts quickly liquefied at the end of their bouts with Miss Marvel. This must be a particularly stressful week for the young heroine, as we have learned from social media sources and our listening tools that her parents have learned of her alter ego, and they are none too pleased. Someone else having issues with their parents is a former Hydra agent, a teenage boy called RJ that Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, has taken a shine towards. RJ's father is Richie Edward Boyle, a convicted bank robber who was recently released from prison. We don't imagine the reformed Barnes is going to have many kind words to say to Mr. Boyle. The fiasco with Stark Unlimited's rollout of their virtual reality network Escape continues as users within the Escape system continue to cause havoc here in the real world. They're stealing cars in the nation's capital, using Banetronic jetpacks and guns for violent means in Chicago, and causing general chaos worldwide. Wasp and James Rhodes in his new Manticore tank are fighting the Controller, who is presumed to have caused this chaos. Sources from inside of Stark Unlimited claim that the Controller had Stark's head of security, Bethany Cabe, under his control, and this is how he was able to bypass into the system without tripping any alarms. Tony Stark is hopefully trying to solve the problem from within the system, as he is also stuck in Escape, along with his biological mother, Amanda. Official sources out of Begalia claim that Frank Castle was hanged last week. His supposed last words were, "Zemo is a lying piece of..." However, the massive prison riot in Begalia continues with explosions reported on the scene, with some eyewitnesses and local news outlets reporting that the Punisher is actually alive and leading the prison riot. Taskmaster is on the scene trying to put a stop to the riot, although that does not appear to be going well, as the prisoners have acquired a tank and have painted the infamous Punisher skull on the front. Nightmare in Begalia is almost a dream compared to the nightmares we've been hearing about worldwide as we continue into our 5th week of darkness. People have been screaming awake from their nightmares, dreaming that they had been smashed by the Hulk, shot with an arrow by Hawkeye, or blasted by Rocket Raccoon. There is some hope in Omnipotent City as Hercules, Spectrum, and Vision were able to successfully hold back Goddess of the Night Nyx's children from further attacking the librarians who guard the last source of light in our solar system. Scarlet Witch managed to disappear into a new violent dimension with a shard of the Eternal Night that Nyx seeks to make sure we never see our light again. Our multi-dimensional news tracker are searching now for where Wanda Maximoff could have ended up. The refugee crisis on planet Ego closed a violent chapter this past week. The refugees were able to stay on Ego as part of a bargain that Yondu and his Ravagers were able to close. However, the raiders, led by a man named Chargazel, seeking to eliminate the refugees, had taken control of Ego's moon, Alter Ego, causing the planet to backlash. The very soil of the planet attacked the Ravagers and stranded Asgardians. Luckily, Angela of Heaven ripped off Chargazel's arm, scaring his soldiers into reversing the effects on Alter Ego, bringing peace to the planet and the refugees. Although the team of Asgardians did seem to lose Kid Loki in the battle. We have a conclusion to the crisis in Transia after the assassination of the president by the violent mutant group X-Force. The new president, Constantine, was reported to be attacking mutant refugees with a futuristic suit of armor and rockets. This backfired for the new president, as the mutant refugees used their ungodly powers to fight back, rousing the revolution. Constantine was then distracted as he battled a Deathlock-enhanced Ahab. Constantine managed to kill Ahab, but the president himself was knocked out by X-Force. The mutant refugees now run the nation, an extremely sour note for the history of the human species. This brings us to our final story tonight as we have more updates from the Age of X-Man dimension. It appears that mutant terrorist leader Apocalypse has become a counterculture messiah in this world known by his Egyptian name, Murshi en Sabah Nur. In this reality, there is no religion much like the communist dictatorships of the 20th century. Apocalypse has 4 light riders who seek to free the world from the chains of individualism. This includes Dazzler, who is a Bob Dylan-esque folk singer, and former leader of the X-Men, Kitty Pryde. Apocalypse has also appeared to have a son in this reality named Evan, which is highly suspect as procreation is illegal in this mutant-dominated world. Surprisingly, Department X, the fascist police force of this world, can do little at the moment as Apocalypse has not publicly broken any laws that they know of. This was determined after a rally of his in Central Park turned violent. The rallygoers were whipped into a frenzy, attacking a stone statue of Wolverine, and against that dimension's X-Men. The X-Men were not able to stop the crowd as they preached non-violence themselves. It appeared that 2 of the X-Men's members, Magneto and Storm, were ready to fight each other in the heat of the moment. Luckily, Apocalypse was able to calm the crowd before it got any more violent. Strangely, Colossus and Kitty Pryde, who were married in our dimension before their death, had a distant relationship in this world. Well, that's all the news you may have missed this last week. For MDN, I'm Tiberius Kimball, where information is power, and it's our responsibility to share it with you. Hey guys, thanks for watching again. We're getting some really cool stuff in comics this week. War of the Realms is, I think that's next week. So I'm thinking about doing a separate show for that, so I'd have regular MDN, and then I'll do a War of the Realms special coverage. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. If you have any ideas on how I can improve the show, leave comments. Otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe if you like what I'm putting out. and tell your friends. Also, don't forget to check out your local comic book shops. Tracker, as always, is in the description below. Thanks for watching.